Hey, Slusha, how do you do, Buckaroos? How the heck are you? I am Tom, the beer and whiskey whisperer, at least for the purposes of this particular show. We'll reconcile with those personalities at this moment. Anyways, let me make sure something's working real quick. Oh, mercy. There we go. Yeah, I think we're in business. Didn't work. Alrighty. Decided to pour myself some whiskey. It's one that I got for my birthday from Brian and Jason. The Weller, the original wheat of bourbon. This is a special reserve at 90 proof. Show you that. I've read that back of that on videos already, so we're not going to bother doing that this time. And I poured some on the rocks. I do have some neat, but I did pour some on the rocks. But I really want to get to it. It took me a little longer to get things rocking than I anticipated. So it's launching. Oh, mercy. So why would you pour a whiskey of that caliber on the rocks, Tom? Because I wanted something cold tonight. I thought, well, let me start here. Pour some cold. And in fact, I don't think I've served it on the rocks since I had it. So let's do one rock pour. Oh, it's nice. Drink it first, then we'll have, then we'll just sip the neat. Uh, Using my square cups. I mean square cubes. I mean. Oh, mercy. I haven't been doing much on the rocks lately, and it just sounded good for some reason. Oh, uh, gosh, that's good whiskey. Yeah, I got a lot of good friends. I got several bottles of whiskey for my birthday. I got well, this Weller, the Wise Man that I finished. Uh, I'm drawing a blank. Who gave me that one now? Wise Man, I finished the Teeling from Scotty or Black Jesus, as I like to call. Oh, mercy, poor Scotty. One of the best human beings on the planet. I swear to goodness, he's just hilarious. But he had this license plate that said Black Jesus. I just made an assumption that it was a nickname, that people called him that. No, nobody called him that. It was just what he had on the license plate. But I started calling him that. Now it's become a thing. I didn't mean to. I just, like I said, I made an assumption. I do what I always do. I go way over the top. uh, but yeah, he gave me the Teeling, which is really nice. And I thought about drinking that one too because the Irish sounded good. But then I just decided to go with this Weller. I've had it for a while. And as much as I like the Teeling and the Irish whiskey, right, it's kind of a mood. I want something a little bolder right this particular. But I may have some of that next. Actually, I am off tomorrow. That's why you see me on a weekday. On a Tuesday. Yeah, I'm off tomorrow, man. Uh, got a vacation coming up in about a month ish. Not doing anything big this year. We did a real big one last year. Well, for us anyway. I guess hearing about other people's vacations being gone for 3 or 4 weeks at a time now, it's not something we've ever done. But yeah, we were out for about a week and a half last year, and we're just gonna go for about 3 or 4 days this year. Gonna keep it a little closer to home, a little more manageable, but still far enough away from home to be away from home, and hopefully visit a couple old friends that I haven't seen in a while. One I haven't seen in over a decade. I hope to meet up for a few beers, and another one that I haven't seen since 2018. We know each other from the craft beer world. I know that's a shock to some of you, but a good portion of my friends, that's how we met. Imagine. Now, I first met John the Beer Snob. I think it was 2014. So just uh, slightly earlier in the year, my wife and I had visited Little Rock for a few days over our anniversary. But she found a Goodwill. I think it was like a month or maybe a little bit after, or maybe a month and a half later. We had a chance to get back down there. We took our daughter with us so they could go to the Goodwill store. And I ended up stopping at a brewery that I did. I don't think they were open. They either were open or I weren't able to get there. But I'm thinking they maybe weren't open yet when we were there the first time. But anyways, um, and then that's where I met John the Beer Snob. He's got a beer blog called the Beer Snob, John the Beer Snob. So we kind of hit it off and kept in touch after that. But I hadn't seen him in person since then. Been talking back and forth today over what breweries to get to. So it's funny. You do some research. Okay, we have this brewery, this brewery, this, but if you're not there, you don't really know the ins and outs of the particular breweries or what their reputations are. So it's nice to have a friend there to kind of give me the particulars about each one. Because quite frankly, I've never been about quantity, right? I mean, I'd rather hit the quality breweries than just hit them all. It's kind of what we did, or what I did last year in both Indianapolis and Columbus, because I didn't hit a lot per se, but I hit the ones that I wanted to, or I spent more time in the ones that I wanted to, which kind of kept me from getting to a whole bunch. Let me say it that way. All right, we're doing a little beer palate cleanser here. This is a new class here. It's the second year they've done it over at Banter Brewing. It's their M80. Look at that. It is just a beer, man. That's how I describe it. It's 6.7%. Basically, a better, cleaner malt liquor. But the best way to describe it is it's a beer. You're not going to get fancy fruit flavors, but it's good and it's clean. So here you go. Oh, that beer's just insanely good, man. Let me set that down for actually. I was going to set that down while pour the rest of that beer in there. Couldn't quite get it all in there. It was a pint can. Now we've got it all in there. Here, let me show you that again. A little head on there. Anyway, everybody likes a little head. Anyways, I digress. But I digress, man. So I put about 2 ounces neat in my classic Jack Daniel glass here of that Weller. And I better let's we better have a neat pour to really get a feel for. Bug got in my damn whiskey. Son of a biscuit! I let that sit up there too long. Did I get him? No, I didn't. Hang on, I gotta jump off camera. Get that bug out of there. All right, sorry for that. We had to filter that little bastard out of there. My OCD just gets the best of me sometimes. Anyway, one more time. You picked up that says, that little bastard. That little motherfucker got in my whiskey, man. My good whiskey. Fucking Weller. Anyway, I digress. Let me knock this back. Gosh, that whiskey is something in it. I'll be honest. I do prefer traditional bourbons that use rye as a secondary. They are my favorite. Now, I'm not dissing the Wheateds or Weller or Pappy or anybody. I do like them. This is absolutely delicious. But I was just kind of clearing the record that as much as I love a big rye bourbon, especially high rye bourbons, you can tell, or it's easy to tell, why a whiskey like this is so popular. They are probably more approachable than your typical traditional or even a high rye bourbon. Because high rye is a very particular palate, right? I mean, it's big, it's bold, it's a little chewy, especially depending on the proof, the mash. And I will say, the older I get, the more I prefer rye. Right, I've gotten to where I really love. First, it was just high rye whiskeys, but now I love high rye rye. Right. Um, I've had some at lower percentage in the 50s. Um, but the ryes that I prefer are those that are 100% rye. Another one I really like is at 75. But I mean, the point being, I love that rye content. But yes, it is easy to see why a lot of folks just getting into bourbon gravitate towards the wheated bourbons. They are a little softer. They are a little sweeter. They are, for lack of a better word, more approachable. And it's usually when folks are really just getting into bourbons and they find those, wheated bourbon names that right? They start there and they really like those. So they tend not to go any farther. I just like to encourage folks to keep going, right? Try other names, but I'm kind of the other direction too. I encourage folks to try those small distilleries. That it doesn't have to be about those big names. Some of the best whiskey being made right now are by smaller independent distilleries. In my opinion, I will say medium size. Yeah. And there's a lot of what I call label whiskeys out there. There are folks that are they're more blenders, so they're not distilling, but they've got a label, they've got a brand, so they're blending particular barrels to get to a particular flavor. There's nothing wrong with that either. I used to not be a fan of that type, but the truth is, there's a lot of good whiskeys out there, and you shouldn't discount any of them. Oops. Uh, Ran across a lot of distilleries last year on vacation, though. Many I really liked. Hotel Tango was one of those. I mean, I only went there in all honesty because it was right there. I went to a brewery across the street. It just didn't make sense not to stop out of curiosity. I got a flight. I knew at the time that they didn't distill there, that it was, it was their name, their label, their brand. But I was so impressed with the product that I did buy one bottle, and I only bought one because it wasn't cheap. It wasn't. But I really wanted this one particular bottle, and it was their 10-year-old bourbon at cask, and that bourbon was just insanely good. And then I went to Four Finger Distillery there in Indianapolis, and those guys were insane. But yeah, they were rather impressive. I bought two bottles there. I bought their cask rye, which I wish I had bought two bottles of, and then I bought their American single malt, which was equally delicious. Then when I got to Columbus area, we hit I think Endeavor was the first distiller I got to, and then it was Endeavor, Echo, and High Bank. Yeah, and I'm forgetting one. A Watershed. Watershed, I didn't. That was the last of them I got to. I just had a lot of great distilleries there in the Columbus area. Watershed is extremely impressive, man. There's only one distillery in the area we're going, and I've had a fair amount of their products before, but I've never had the chance to visit the distillery. So I am looking forward to being able to. At where we're staying, it's only about a half a mile, so I'm hoping that the 3 days we're there, I'll be able to get there at least a couple times. It's funny though how well the way I do things have changed, right? Because I used to just drink the whiskey neat, sometimes rocks. But if I was going to a distillery for the first time, I pretty much just drink neat. But now that I'm making a living, as it were, as a bartender and designing cocktails, yeah, I'm trying cocktails at most places just to get different ideas because I have a very particular ideas about the stuff I like. But you learn that it's not about what you like; it's what other folks like, what they will purchase from you. So I've tried to learn about other products and other techniques that I wasn't familiar with in order to bring the best cocktails to my workplace. Came up with one today, kind of off the cuff, that I really liked. Because I made for for a couple folks today, I made our whiskey or Boston Sour, which I really love the way this one comes out. But another customer came in, and I've been known to design cocktails specifically for her, just based around what liquor she's in the mood for at that moment. And I just made those whiskey sours, and she's like the way they live, but it's not really a whiskey person. She wanted rum, so then I had an idea. So I used the rum with some. I used 2 ounces of the rum, 1 ounce of key lime juice, half channeling the Boston Sour, but not making that. Anyway, the rum, the key lime juice, half ounce simple, and mint. And I shook it with some mint, slapped it, of course. I beat the shit out of that mint, Anyways, got it nice and cold. But then I did egg foam on it, and it just came out beautiful. And she looked at that. She took it. I garnished it with uh, a lime and a little sprig of mint. And she says, "Wow, that tastes like a key lime pie." So then I had another customer order it right after hearing that, and she loved it too. So I'm gonna find a way to try to finagle that one into the repertoire, even though it's not officially on the menu. This is a very, very nice whiskey. Again, I can see why wheaties are popular because they, again, for lack of a better word, it's approachable. The flavors are not overwhelming, not necessarily subtle, but not big and in your face either. Again, wheated bourbons tend to be a little sweeter, a little softer than their rye counterparts. Let's launch it. Oh, but yeah, I mean, it's just nicely done. So there you go. Anyways, I digress. But I guess that's all I got for you today. Let me wrap this up. Ugh. I am. Who are you, man? Yeah. Oops, that pop off on me. I am Tom, the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyorism all around, good guy. Also, Tom, the Beer Whisperer, Beer Evangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyorism, and uh, oh, excuse me, all around good